Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Roberts, and I'm really excited to be applying for the ESL role at Steele Elementary. So, I've addressed the 5 questions that you had given me. So, let's just go ahead and jump right in. So, the first question was regarding social and emotional well being. And I firmly believe that if students don't feel safe emotionally, they won't be able to take risks academically. So, in order to support the social emotional learning of my students, I like to really focus on a warm, secure, organized physical environment. I also really like to emphasize my listening to them. I pride myself on being a very strong listener, and students end up bringing me a lot of their concerns, their feelings, troubles that are happening at home. And by just listening, they end up sharing quite a bit with me. So I find that that is probably my most important tool that I rely on in this domain. And then along with that is encouraging students to label their feelings. So with this is something that students need a lot of practice with. So I oftentimes will be the one to label the feeling for them. Like, it sounds like you feel sad or you feel frustrated, and trying to help them really label the feeling is incredibly supportive in their social and emotional development. This is particularly important for students who might not be native English speakers because they might not have the vocabulary necessary to express their feelings. So it's really important that I support this particular part of their development and provide them the vocabulary that they'll need to express their feelings. And then finally, I like to promote peer interaction. So things like mix and mingle, four corners, this or that. These types of collaborative structures I love to use in the classroom because it not only helps students work on the target language and whatever is happening instructionally in the class, but it also helps to really foster those social skills that are so important. All right. Next, and I didn't touch on the strategic partnerships. So I also really like to be thoughtful about which students might be working with other students, not only to best support their academic needs, but trying to find ways that I might partner students up who could end up being really great friends or might be a wonderful support to each other. Maybe somebody who's incredibly shy, that, there's somebody else who I think could be a good match for them and might help them feel comfortable. Really thinking through those partnerships is especially important. All right, so there was a scenario about a second grade student, and the objective of this lesson was that students will use graphic organizers to plan writing their own myths. So, as I was looking at this, I was really thinking about the whole group and also sort of the individual or small group instruction. So, in terms of whole group, I think one of the best ways to support everybody in the class, particularly the ESL student, but something that would benefit everybody would be if we added just a little bit to the graphic organizer. So the sections that this lesson has is the characters, setting, and plot. So I think we could really add maybe some gestures for each of those words, and then also some pictures as well on the graphic organizer. And that would just help with that comprehensible input so that a student who is not fluent yet in English might be able to better understand what the teacher is talking about. So, for example, for gestures, you could just do something as simple as, you're saying characters. So maybe when you say characters, this is your little guy. This is characters. This is setting. And then plot is, that character doing something in the setting. And that might help the student better understand those vocabulary words, characters, setting, and plot. And then in terms of small group, I think what I'm picturing for this kind of lesson, a way that could be most supportive to an ESL student, would be actually if they had a little movable word bank. So I've given some examples here. So if you have a little story map, then you could also have some cutouts of some vocabulary that the student could use to physically build the story map. So first I have the setting pictures, then characters, and then some plot ideas. So the student would look at the choices, and then let's say that they choose ancient Greece. They would take the paper for ancient Greece, the little cutout, and then put it right in setting. And then next for characters, they look at all their choices and they pick out Zeus and then put it under characters. And then for the plot, they're going to look at some of the choices and that will help them come up with some ideas. Uh, so as they would kind of build this little plan. And then I'm imagining that they would actually have a second paper that they would use for copying down that plan so that they can be looking at what they built and then be able to copy it down. I think that this would help to make the lesson very tangible, excuse me, and a wonderful visual component as well. And then they would also be transferring that information into writing. And finally, once the plan is officially built and everything's ready to go, I would recommend using some sentence stems to help the student articulate their plan, either orally or in writing, just to kind of help push to that next level. So at an access level 2, it says that students are really reliant on creating lists. And I think this structure that we've created really supports them in helping to create a plan that is sort of list based. But if we offer some sentence stems and help them articulate that either orally or in their writing, it will kind of help to push them towards that next level. So this lesson, I feel, really supports the student where they are and also gives them a little nudge into that next level. All right. Next question is related to staff collaboration. So here my goals are trust, support, and academic alignment. So in order to achieve these goals, first and foremost, I'm going to come back to the skill of listening. I think it's very crucial when you're working in a support role to listen to your colleagues. Classroom teachers are the ones that are with these children all day, every day. They have a very holistic understanding of the child's needs and what might be going on with them in the classroom or at home. And it's so important to listen to these people because they are experts in this child and seeing what they might be needing as students. So I really, really want to listen to staff members as it pertains to the student. I also really want to listen to the staff members about what their needs are. So making sure that I am providing them with whatever supports they might be asking for. And next, I would love to meet staff members in whatever way I can. So my first choice would be able to attend team meetings. I just think that those meetings are so informative, where you get to hear all kinds of stuff about what the whole grade level is working on and find little things that you can integrate into your ESL instruction. So I would love to be able to go to the meetings. That would be my first choice. But if for some reason that's not possible, whether it's scheduling or whatever it might be, I would love to use technology to be able to foster these collaborative conversations. So something like Flipgrid or Google Forms, email, Loom, whatever it might take for us to really be able to connect. I know that I've been using Flipgrid lately with my fifth graders, and they have loved it. I've loved it. It's been a really great way to make sure I'm hearing their voices and understanding what they're taking away at the end of every week. So something like that might be a really cool way to collaborate with staff members as well. And then finally, I would love to use a SIOP checklist or be able to do observations of my colleagues so that I can see what kind of support they're providing in the classroom, maybe get a better sense of how I can support them. I had a colleague many years ago who was our ESL support person, and she would do these observations. It never felt punitive. It was always very supportive. We had a SIOP checklist that was in our classroom. She would come in, she'd watch for 15, 20 minutes and just do a little checklist and then leave it on our desk. And then we would kind of celebrate all the different things that she saw us working on. And it was very positive and wonderful. And it was also a great way to be like, oh, okay, I did this and I did this. Here's some other ideas of what I could try next week. So I would love to offer some kind of support like that would eventually, the primary goal is to help and support students, but it also would really help and support staff members as well. A piece of that I do want to go back to actually is that I think doing this kind of observation really only works if there's a great sense of trust, because I don't want teachers to think that it's anything punitive. So this kind of goes back to that listening component, because I have to build trust with other staff members so that this would even be possible and positive. All right, next, supporting families. So here the goal is to create a sense of belonging and security. And in order to do that, I have outlined a few things I would really love to try. So the first thing I would love to do is really build a sense of community amongst this group of ESL families first, so that they can feel like a tight knit group and can start to get to know each other and rely on each other. It's actually very similar to the idea of when you're working with ESL students, letting them talk with their peers before they share out with the class, kind of taking that idea and applying it to the families. Let them sort of bond in this smaller group, get connected in this smaller group so that they might feel more comfortable in the greater community of Steele. So ways that I might do this, I've outlined 3 different events that I could do beginning, middle, end of the year. Potluck with families at the beginning of the year. I'm picturing something very casual, wash park. Everybody brings the food from their culture. I would bring my own family. It would just be a way to really connect with everybody's families, not just the student and the parents. Like, bring everybody, bring all the kids. Let's all really get to know each other and connect. And then middle of the year, maybe some kind of dessert party, talk about holidays around the world, whatever their family might celebrate would be fun. And then at the end of the year, doing a popsicle party, maybe have the students just do a little poem or some kind of short presentation just to showcase how much they've grown in their English language. I know I would love to see that if my own kids, my kids are learning Spanish currently, and I would love to have some kind of event at the end of the year where I got to watch them use their foreign language. I think it'd be really fun and exciting. I'm sure these families would feel the same. And then next, I would love to be an extra communication or point person. So if there's an event at the school, just kind of sending out a blast to these families, maybe a dojo, email, whatever it might be, and say, hey, there's a literacy night. Come on down. I'm going to be by the office. Hope I see you there. Just, that extra communication to help bring them into the community. Attending conferences, also maybe a Google form at the beginning of the year just to assess their needs and to make sure their voices are heard. And then finally, you had asked about my superpowers or passions, things like that. So I would say my biggest superpower is that I have a big heart. So I care about people a lot. It's what brought me to being a teacher. So I have a big heart and I really care a lot. And then on top of that, I'm very hardworking and I pride myself on being a team player. Next, my passions. I love my family, running, travel, and stories of all kinds. So for running, I'm not any kind of superstar runner, but I just love it. I love being out there, being by myself, just kind of working through my thoughts, and it's just sort of my happy place. And then stories, I love any kind of story, whether it's a podcast, a book, a movie, a show. I'm always drawn to a good story. And then finally, something a little different I thought I would throw in there. I've been thinking a lot lately about people who inspire me or parts of myself that I'm always trying to kind of develop or grow. And the 3 people lately who've been coming to mind as people who inspire me are Adam Grant, Martin Luther King Jr., and Robin Arson. So all 3 of those people just really inspire me and challenge my thinking, and I just strive to be more like them. So I included a quote from MLK that says, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And I really try to think about this every day, especially as a teacher, because that's the why. That's why I do it. I want to be of service to other people, and particularly young students. So that is all. I hope that I answered everything for you, and I look forward to chatting more. Thank you so much for your time, and that's all.